it to you, Amanda. We cut to we see Monica again. She's so intelligent. So I just love Tiana Paris. I can't wait to see more of her. But she's putting the pieces to the puzzle together. She's saying, as we talked about earlier, which we can maybe make a theory. Who do we think that this person that's going to be brought into the mix? I know you guys said Reed Richards, and there's so many theories, but we see Monica say that she wants to put some proton gears together on some wheels so she can get back into Westview. Now, why she wants to go back is she want to convince Wanda to come out of this hex or whatever the case may be. But something I want to definitely talk about, she has some beef with Captain Marvel, as you know, which I love the conversation about, you know, Thanos versus Wanda. We got Captain Marvel versus Thanos, which, by the way, how did they know what down in that fight? Was there a drone? Was it like ESPN?
They were reporting live.
I don't know how they knew that, unless one of the Avengers like came, like, you know, would be so hilarious. Ant-Man 3, we see Luis recapping everything. And Luis was the one that told everybody what happened. He tells everyone what happened in the game. That's how they knew. But I don't know how they knew how the fight went out. But either way, I love that scene because Wanda, like, she would have took out Thanos. Rain fire. But Amanda, your thoughts on this beef, this rift, this tension between Monica and Captain Marvel? Is it because she didn't help Marie and she didn't come to see her mom when she was dying of cancer? Is there something else there? What's your thoughts on this beef?
As we saw in well, no, not Infinity War. As we saw in Endgame, Carol was like MIA majority of the time. She just swooped in for 5 minutes, so which pissed me off. But anyways, like, she was MIA, and it could totally be the fact that like Monica has beef with her because she didn't go see her mom, or she wasn't there for her either, like, growing up. Like, you have no idea, because she's always like, I have to go protect the other Earths, and there's so many other galaxies, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, you have to be in this movie. Like, what's wrong with you? Please write her.
That was a great excuse.
Powerful. Like, why? That was my only beef with Endgame. So I was on the same page as Monica. I'm like, well, yeah, because like Captain Marvel was low-key like useless to everyone in Endgame, right? So I understand where like she could definitely have been completely out of Maria's life and Monica's life, and that's where she kind of feels that we get that tension from her. So that could most definitely be the case, and hopefully we see a little bit more about their relationship ahead of Captain Marvel 2, because like Captain Marvel 2 is like far, so I think we can get a little bit more from the way Monica's feeling about Carol.
It's a great point. And I think I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm 100% sure that Captain Marvel will be appearing in Miss Marvel when we get that show later this year. And I think that would be a great way. And it's not a coincidence that Westview is in New Jersey, which might explain why Kamala Khan gets her powers to be Miss Marvel. So again, the show is just clicking on so many cylinders for the future. But tossing it to you, Chris, regarding Monica and Captain Marvel beef, what can be that tension going on there? But also, again, do we expect maybe Monica Rambeau getting her powers in this show, or is that something you want to wait for the movies to see her get her full power? So thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, really quick. I think she might get her powers towards the end of this. I think that's fine. There's definitely beef with this Captain Marvel thing, but the first thing I thought was like, maybe she just like harbors some like animosity towards her, because like, you got my mom running all over the place, and like I have limited time with my mom because she's running around with you. So like, that was like the first thing that I thought. So I was like, and I know they'll get into it, but I was like, I want everyone to be happy. So I was like, damn, man, she's beating Captain Marvel. Like, I want her to be cool. But that was the first thing that I thought. I was like, damn, like maybe she just like, now she knows her mom's gone, and then like, well, if you weren't spending so much time, fighting crime, like we could have like been together and all that kind of stuff. So that was my first thought.
I like where you're going there, Chris, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, rewatching episode 4, when we open up the episode, there's like I watch everything in subtitles, and I'm glad I do, because I would have missed this. There's like subtitles that there's like a past sequence going on with Monica that she's talking to someone, and she's like, I think it was Marie dropping her off to her mother's house. So like you just said, I think Marie was, as we know, she had to build sword. She was with Captain Marvel. So I think you're totally right that there was probably, her mom wasn't in her life. We don't know who the dad is, but we know that her mom was her best friend, and she was gone half the time. So I think you might be onto something there, which, kicking into UKB, this tension between Marie and Captain Marvel, is that something you were thinking, or something else entirely in regards to what this tension can be?
So I'm trying to remember, because honestly, I haven't watched Captain Marvel, the film, really long time. But doesn't she make a promise?
Yeah.
Like at the end, And doesn't she make a promise to young Monica that like, oh, you know, I'll always be there? Like she has this scene. I mean, like the very last scene is her basically chatting with young Monica. And I feel like in that scene, she basically like promises her, you know, like, oh, I'll always be there for you. But we know from Endgame that Carol went missing for like 2 decades, and maybe even 3 actually. So I feel like, you know, maybe the tension is just the fact that, girl, you lied to me. So not only did you take, you know, my mother, but you also legitimately lied to me. Like you told me like, oh, you know, I'll always be here. And then you left to go, you know, off on your otherworldly adventures. And then also took my mom as well. And, you know, my mom gets back, she's very sick, which also she might blame her for that as well. Like, you know, maybe if my mom wasn't running around, you know, maybe she would have gotten cancer. And so, you know, then obviously, I mean, well, I'm assuming Carol also wasn't there in the hospital by, you know, Maria's side at all during this. And then she transitions on. So I think it's really just kind of family issues. You know, obviously they're friends, but they're chosen family. And it just seems like, you know, there are just some family issues that need to be worked out. And it feels like Monica feels abandoned in a lot of ways.
A lot of good stuff you said there, KB. Number one, when you said that, it does kind of come to mind. I think there was, and I can't wait to see Monica have that jacket that Captain Marvel gave her, and that might be something that she kind of holds against her, and she wasn't there for her, which again just makes me Nia Nakasta getting to be the director. She's so great at like building characters, and you know what she did with Little Woods. I can see them exploring that relationship, which makes me again so excited for Captain Marvel 2. But so much to kind of break down there. But Ankit, man, your thoughts on this tension in this relationship, but also within this same scene, we have the conversation being brought up about, you know, the hex. There's a hexagon. There's a hex going on in this town. And again, we're going to see Wanda Maximoff transition into the Scarlet Witch, which goes to your point, being the villain of the, you know, this phase 4, which I think what Marvel does so smartly, especially with this phase, we're going to not see her as a traditional villain. We're going to see her we're going to sympathize with her, which makes a great villain. They think they're the heroes of their own story, which Wanda thinks she's not bothering anyone. She's just living her own life. But tossing it to you, man, on this beef with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau and that whole sequence about also, I don't want to miss the point that someone had brought up a little bit earlier, and someone brought up in the chat, who's this engineer that Monica was referring to? So all that, man, what's your thoughts there, man?
Yeah, no, I think everyone hit the nail on the head about Captain Marvel taking the mom away to kind of go on missions. Like it almost just like stripping away her childhood and having her live with her grandma. And then almost like Rambeau, her last memory of her mom is like on a hospital bed, right? So I think there's just like a lot of pent up aggression there. That's all I have to say about that. I already said that I do think that astrophysicist is Reed Richards. Awesome. And then what was the other question that you had?
This the beef that they had going on, and also this hexagon that Dorothy brings up. Oh, you're using the hex word, you know, the whole hexagon theory,
right?
This witch ability that she has on this.
Yeah, so I think I had hoped like the hexagon's attributed to something more. So I was a little let down when she was like, "Oh, I'm just using the word because it's like hexagon." So I was like, "Okay, well, that's a thing now. That's done." But I kind of find it funny that Hayward said at one point, like during the briefing, like, "Oh, she doesn't have a weird fancy name or something like that." Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember that when he said that? Yeah. Like, because they haven't officially called her Scarlet Witch yet, right? So I feel like there's going to be some I am Iron Man type moment at the end of the season. I am Scarlet Witch.
Hey, that would be awesome. And I'd also want to toss it back to Amanda, just because I don't want you guys to miss out on that question. Did you guys have your theories about who you think the engineer could be?
Oh, totally Reed. It's Reed Richards for sure, yeah.
How about you, Chris?
I agree.
Yeah.
AB, are you on the same?
So me and Amanda are back on the same page. Okay,
finally,
we are healing. This is a healing moment.
Yeah, I think it's Reed. The only thing I'm gonna question though is, are we gonna get like OG X-Men Reed, or are we gonna see a new actor cast that we haven't exactly seen before? So that's my only thing. I'm 100% behind it being Reed, but like, which version of Reed are we gonna see?
So Austin, a loaded question for you, my friend, but just your kind of thoughts on the conversation we had about Monica and Captain Marvel. This question here about who's the engineer. What's your thoughts on that, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, the only other connection I could find there is the character of Blue Marvel, who's a fascinating character in the comic books. But I mean, all points are leading to Reed Richards. I just, I don't see how you can compare a Luke Skywalker moment to Blue Marvel or Doctor Strange, which would be great, but we've seen Doctor Strange. Give me John Krasinski in there, man, walking through, smiling like he does in that meme from The Office through the blinds. I think that would be incredible. And to go back to the Monica situation, right? I think we're setting up for some great stuff in Captain Marvel 2 to see that beef there, because I think that's what the beef is all about. She left, mother died. As far as we know, you weren't there for her. I think that could be some beautiful setup there for the next film. Now, to do it with the hexagon, there's actually a little bit to it, right? The hexagon, hex is a big deal in the comic books. Obviously, a lot of people refer to that when they refer to Wanda's powers, but this whole town, I might be theorizing a little bit. This whole town is surrounded by this giant force field of energy. And there's a scene in this episode that says Monica, something weird's happening when she did her tests, right? Something's going on. We know she turns into a superhero, but she's not the only person that's been in that town. There's I think they said 3,000 people in that town.
3,852 to be exact, man.
Yeah, man. So what better way to introduce the mutant gene than through the powers of Wanda, who gets her powers from the Infinity Stone, which essentially that means the Infinity Stone created the mutant gene, because I don't see any other way that they're going to bring this in. Now, obviously, the Evan Peters thing, that's going to have to be explained, right? But to start out with 3,000 mutants and whoever's in that town, I think would be a crazy way to introduce everything that has to do with the X-Men. I there's something there that's got me scratching my head right now.
Austin,
Amen.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Yes. Also, I feel like it's too soon. Like, I don't know why. I just,
it might be.
When we announced that the deal was done and hey, they're coming back home, I was thinking it'll take a long time before they give us X-Men. So if they're doing it right now, that's wild. Then I have no idea. Then all of my theories about Phase 4 are out of the window if they're doing it right now. If we're starting off with X-Men.
How about now? I just thought of this. Thank you, Austin. How about if it's like a Deadpool cameo? Because of all people to make a cameo, I think he would be a really good fit. Awesome. If we're going to bring them in, I think I just thought of that now that you said that the mutants are everywhere. Like, why not Deadpool?
That would be pretty hilarious, because number one, we know that they're planning to sitcoms, and by the time he shows up, we'll be in the mid 2000s. I don't know what's the big show. What Modern Family would be the big one that they or the we talked about The Office. I think that's going to be like the 2000s era. But Deadpool coming to the mix would be pretty fat. And again, to you all's point, and KB, you mentioned it. They said that first they were going to introduce the Fantastic Four. We want to get them first, and we thought that we were going to get more time away from the X-Men, because we literally just got X-Men 2, 3, or less than that with New Mutants, I guess, now. But I thought that they were going to take their time, but apparently they can't help themselves. They're going to introduce the mutants now. And again, I think they're going to do it kind of slowly, again, kind of introduce one X-Men here, another one, a Deadpool, but eventually we're going to get, all of them that we kind of come to love from the comics. So again, it's interesting. Yeah, go ahead, KB.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought we would wait until the Eternals to get there. Like, I was thinking that the Eternals would set it up. So it's real interesting if WandaVision does instead.
Well, the Eternals wasn't it originally supposed to come out before WandaVision? Right?
I don't even, honestly, Austin, I don't even remember the before times. I don't remember the before timeline. I'm like, I don't understand anything anymore. My mind is blown. And then honestly, I was in that press conference when Kevin Feige was like, yeah, so we just decided to move, WandaVision up. And I was like, sir, what does that mean? Like, honestly, like, you've been planning this for years, and now all of a sudden you're just like, hey, never mind, we're going to do this. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, now I'm confused. So I have no idea, Austin, honestly.
If I can build on Austin's point. So I love the idea of, remember the first X-Men movie? Magneto's whole master plan is to like awaken the dormant gene in the population. Yeah. So I feel like if Wanda does something, it might not affect all 3,000 people, because maybe not all of them have an X gene in them, but I feel like some sort of catalyst is going to like spark that back up. I always thought it was the snaps, that would create like
Wake
radiation
up.
out there.
Yeah.
I actually thought it would be pretty cool if whatever this Marvel MCU slate of X-Men movies would take place in the future. So, you know, they could have the Sentinels without really much explanation, and that like movies would slowly lead up to whatever is established in these X-Men movies, like a different twist on the cinematic universe. But with that Monica tease, with the Rambeau tease, I do think Austin is right. Like that's probably how they're going to awaken the mutants, and it's going to be getting dormant genes up and running.
Let's put a pin in that, because I want to definitely get more into this X-Men theories when we get to Mr. Quicksilver, Evan Peters coming into the mix, and definitely want to hear more from you guys on that. But kind